Hello there. We begin our Bible in a year with our Old Testament passage, Genesis chapter 1 and the first part of Genesis chapter 2. The story of beginnings, the story of creation. And God spoke the world into existence. And right at the end, in verse 26 and 27, he says, "And now let us make human beings in our image, in our likeness, to look like us, to sound like us, to smell like us." We were uniquely created to reflect him. And then we see a little bit more detail in chapter 2, beginning at verse 7. Then the Lord God formed a human being and breathed into his nostrils. You see, we uniquely have the breath of God. We are created differently to the rest of creation. We are meant to reflect something of who he is.
Yeah, and one of the things that means is we are uniquely able to have a relationship with God. So one of the things that really stood out to me as I was reading this was from verse 16, when it says of chapter 2, "And the Lord commanded man, you are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil." And in that you see this thing that we're created with freedom. We're created with a real choice. Do we want to do as God says? Do we want to effectively have a relationship with him? Or do we want to go our own way? And we're going to see what happens with the decision tomorrow, but you probably already know that we choose to walk away from God and we choose to turn our back on him. So what this means for us and what this means for our life today is, number one, we're made unique. We're different from every other creature on the planet. And number two, we're made uniquely so we can have relationship with God. And we always have freedom. We always have a capacity to choose to enter into relationship with him. And that's something that we decide when we come to follow Jesus. It's also something that we decide to live out every single day. And the reason that God gave us freedom is because the heart of what he wants is a relationship of love. And to have a relationship of love, there has to be something called free will. So when I proposed to my wife, the way I did not do it is get down, pull out a diamond engagement ring and say, "Hey Beth, marry me. And by the way, if you don't, I'm going to blow your brains out." Why did I not do that? Because if I'd done that, and then she said, "Well, okay, I'd rather actually marry you than have my brains blown out," I could never really claim that she actually genuinely loves me because I haven't really given her a choice. For there to be a real relationship of love, there has to be real choice. And that's what God gives us right at the start. Because his aim from the very beginning, from the genesis of the whole world, is that he might end up with people with whom he can have this relationship of love, who he can love and who will love him back. Anything to add to that?
No, your half was a lot longer than my half.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot more profound as well. So, here we go. The year begins.